find that so incredibly enlightening, because if it is for the miracle, a time of miracles, a time of rededication, the evil, wicked ruler that was ruling at the time when the miracle of Hanukkah happened is a picture or a type of Antichrist, Antiochos. Antiochos. I don't know how you say it, but it's Anticochous, I think. But he was a wicked ruler who came after Alexander the Great had conquered, and he died, and certain rulers took over after him. Some of them were his sons. And I'm not the greatest historian, but what is interesting about it is that it's written in the book of Maccabees. Maccabees is a historical book not chosen to be in the canon of the scriptures, although it is in the Catholic scriptures. But Maccabees 1, Maccabees 2 are great books to read. They're really great, and they're really a lot of historical accounts and a lot of great works and acts of the Lord. And in the book of Maccabees, it talks about what a horrible, horrible time this was when this wicked ruler was ruling. And this was about the actual miracle of Hanukkah happened in about 165 BC, so about 165 years before the birth of our Lord. So, I mean, if the Jewish people would have been wiped out, which is always Satan's plan, then we wouldn't even had our Messiah. So, in Maccabees, it talks about this horrible time, and this wicked ruler, I was looking for a specific name again. Anyway, it was just, the desecration of the temple was horrible, and he set up the rule and law that you could not honor the Sabbath, you could not sacrifice, you could not do any temple worship. He set up his idols in the altar, and if the Jewish mothers would circumcise their sons, and Antiochus would kill the sons and the mothers, literally hang the sons by their neck and the mothers, slaughtering men, women, and children. Many of the Jewish people left God and turned towards the wickedness because maybe pressure, they don't want to die, maybe they didn't want to suffer. But there were a band of Jewish people. There's always a remnant that stays separate, and there was a remnant that stayed separate. And to make a long story short, eventually, led by Judas, a follower, were able to overthrow the people in that area and take back the temple for God. So they went in, of course, cleaned it out, set up their altars again, set up their worship, set up the Torah, and it was supposed to be that there were candles. You burned the, there was always supposed to be an oil burning, like it signified the eternal oil of God, the eternal miracle. But it took a number of days to make this oil. And it's great if you find out more information, and when I do, I'll give it to you. But they only had enough oil for one day to start burning this eternal light. And the miracle happened when the oil actually burned for 8 days, which is the amount of time it took to make more oil, because they actually didn't have enough oil when they set up the temple. So this was a beautiful miracle of the oil. And I like to think of, if Jesus, Yeshua, our Messiah, was born on, or conceived on Hanukkah, I mean, that was the miracle. Not so much as his birth, because once you conceive a child, you usually bring it to birth. But the conception, the miracle of his conception, is a miracle, and it is a miracle of oil. It is a miracle of eternal oil and the eternal flame, and it is a rededication of the temple. It's almost as if God rededicated himself to his temple when he conceived Yeshua, because he became our temple. And so it's almost like God's miracle of rededication for our hope and our temple. And so I just love that thought, and it makes me want to celebrate Hanukkah in even a deeper way. And during the time of Hanukkah, we have these Hanukkahs, which they have 8 lights, and then you have one in the middle, which is a servant candle. It's the one that lights the other candles. And you light one per day for 8 days. By the end of Hanukkah, you have all 8 lit. That's exciting to celebrate it. And you could have your kids make a Hanukkah, or you could buy a Hanukkah. Antiochus, probably someone can say it way better than I can. Like I said, he's been determined as a type of Antichrist. And we see that in Daniel 9:27, when it talks about the Antichrist, it's the same kind of spread of absolute massacring everyone who wants to believe or worship God. And it is the desecration of the temple when the Antichrist comes. So we want to keep the miracle of Yeshua in our heart, and we want to keep the miracle of his conception. And I was thinking about the miracle of God conceiving things in our life that are of a virgin birth, meaning things that we can't do. But when he comes in and makes a miracle, he comes into ourselves. We just say, like Mary, we're just a person, and we're a vessel, and we could do nothing without you. But when he gives us his seed, his miraculous seed, then we can birth great things in our lives, and we can see many miracles through that. I've had so many miracles, but I know I could have even more if I really, really would allow the Lord to birth great things in me and around me. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm praying for all of you that you have that miracle of birth and conception in your own life this Hanukkah, as you dwell on the Lord and how great he is, and how with a small number Judas and his army overthrew this wicked ruler. That was a good Judas. It wasn't the Judas that betrayed Yeshua. But the glory all went to the Lord. And the glory all goes to the Lord as there's things that we cannot do in our lives, but only he can do. And so we take that to him. Like only he could make a virgin birth. Only he could make a Messiah come into a woman form and come as a human. I mean, if God can do that, and if God could save me and save you, he can save anybody. And he can create water out of the rock, and he can multiply the fish in our hands. And I think if we're open to that and really asking for that and being ready for that, I think we'll really see miracles in this season. So I just want to ask God's blessing as we celebrate your miracle of your conception, Lord, and your miracle of Hanukkah. And we ask, God, that you would just be in us and dwell in us and come make a birth. Let's have rebirth and rededication, and let's clean that temple out. Let's have the temple clean and be really in that temple of worship with Yeshua in this season.